Hey guys, today I'll be showing another restoration project I've been working on, and this video is for Steve, who owns this really nice Stevie Wonder raffled Minimoog. So before I go any farther, with that said, I don't blame the Bob Moog Foundation. I don't hold them responsible for this, and I do not hold Michelle Moog responsible for this. What I believe, in my honest and professional opinion, is they were taken advantage of by the work done to this unit. And I've seen it from the same company before. I won't mention their name, but they hired a company to rebuild this for them. And me, as well as other technicians, kind of joke about this company because we see it all the time. And unfortunately, we're the ones that have to break the bad news to people who buy from them. Because they sell their instruments for top dollar, meticulously restored, future-proofed. And then you end up with an instrument that had the dust blown off of it. And, you know, maybe the keyboard's been rebuilt. You know, new key bushings, maybe that much. But that's about all they do. And they charge these dollars as future-proofed. And this is one of those. Another victim of them, so to speak. So I just want to bring that up. So Michelle, I don't want to sound offensive against the Bob Moog Foundation. This is not against you guys. I actually support you guys a lot. Love what y'all do. But this is just something that's been reoccurring with this same company. And like I say, if it wasn't a problem, then I wouldn't, then other techs wouldn't be talking about it too. So just to let you know. But I will say this, though. They got another Minimoog for raffle right now, and it's not by the same person. So I believe it's good based on who did the work on it, which is Wes Taggart. So shout out to Wes Taggart. He actually builds really good cabinets. I know he puts a lot more pride in them than what this company did for this one. So there you go. But anyways, back to this Minimoog. So what I ended up having to do this one, the original complaint with this one from Steve was it just didn't sound good. It had a horrible sound. The filter didn't sound right. The volume was way out. You had to crank the volume up to like 5. And that's just not right. That's not how it's supposed to be. Anybody that knows a Minimoog, they love to set around 2, a little above 2, with high output plugged into a nice amplifier. If you have any problems with that, then either your amplifier's set up wrong or your Minimoog's got problems. And so I kind of started with the audio path first on this one, worked a little bit backwards. Since it was already, pretty much redone chassis-wise, I didn't have to do a whole lot to this chassis. But what it ended up being was it had an issue with the coupling of the filter. That was number one. So I found that, had a big drop in volume. And then also I looked at the VCA circuit, and I noticed right away after I fixed the coupling issue that I was going to trim up the VCA circuit because it was out of cal. And the trim pots were bottomed out. So the actual trim pots for the VCA were bottomed out all the way to the bottom, wouldn't calibrate. And so what I ended up doing was matching a new set of transistors for both the first and second half of that VCA. And I used TS97s, matched them, put them in there, and thermally synced them together. So that's all good. And then of course I fixed the volume issue. So the volume came back really nice and strong, started having that good Minimoog sound again. And then the other problem it had was with oscillator 3. Now I don't know if they would have caught this or not. And I didn't really remember getting a message from Steve about this in our conversation. But oscillator 3, I'd be, when I was diagnosing everything and working on it, sometimes oscillator 3 would just run away. And it would go, at first I thought it was just going out, like it just was dying. But I hooked a scope up to it, and it was actually jumping up to like 140 kilohertz. And it would jump back down to normal frequency, 140 kilohertz. It would just do this randomly. It wasn't like it was a pattern or anything like that. And that turned out just to be some more common failure components that were left in here. Then it had a tracking problem. So it had a slight tracking problem you could notice by the keyboard. But Steve, he wanted to use a Kenton Pro Solo. And if anybody knows about the Kenton Pro Solo and Minimoogs don't track that well. But the Kenton Pro Solo has a feature where you can set the scaling, so you can actually scale and range it in from the Kenton box, which is fantastic. Great. I actually recommend the Kenton Pro Solo MK2, MK3. Fantastic product. But he'd plug it in here, and it would actually it wouldn't track. All oscillators would separate as we went up the scale, which is very common. So it still had all the old summing node resistors, so redid all those and addressed all that for him. So you had a brand new set of summing node resistors in there for all functions. I also went on and installed the dead zone mod for it, so it's got the dead zone for the pitch wheel, which gives you a true dead center when you're in the center position. Makes it a lot more playable. Keeps you from having sharps and flats when you go back into detent. That's what that does. So I addressed all that, and then last little issue I had was it had a weird little pitch shift. So when you hit a note, let off a note, hit a note, let off a note, you'd have this little pitch shift, and it turned out to be a leaky FET in the keyboard circuit. So had a Newell stock set of FETs, put those in there, and took care of that problem. So now the keys don't cause any kind of weird pitch shift. But anyways, that's what all I did. So I went to this thing and replaced all the COM failure components, like I say. Did some upgrades like the dead zone mod, took care of a few things it needed. Tightened up the flag connectors for all the sockets that were loose, so sometimes the board in vibration it would cause pitch shifts. So tightened all that up. Also, shout out to Rob Rosin. He made a kit for the trimmers for the oscillator board. Fantastic, works great. This is my second one to put those in, and it does really good. So Rob, shout out to you for that. And I'll show you also, here's all the old parts that came out of it. So these are all the old components, old sockets that are prone to fail. Just a bunch of stuff. Replaced some transistors. I also had the wrong screws holding the keyboard in place. They used some fine thread screws, and what it is on this keyboard is actually from a 1980 Minimoog. This is a 1974 Minimoog. The keyboard is from 1980, which has something called speed nuts. And if you're not familiar with what that is, you can look them up. But basically, it's a little piece of metal that you slip on over the hole that you have drilled in like a chassis, like for example the key bed. And basically, it gives you threading on the top half. So when you put a sheet metal screw through it, it'll actually grab the threads and pull it in and lock it. And it works really well. But they had used these little fine thread screws, which aren't even a factory size anyways, if they even had the older keyboard in it. And so basically just eating the threads off of it, and it wouldn't tighten, so the keyboard was kind of loose. I could actually go in there and move it. So just a lot of little things like that were just, should have been done right, in my opinion. And it just wasn't. But like I say, the modern raffle Minimoog that's going on right now, not by the same person. Not by the same company, so I don't think you have to worry about these issues with it because I know that these people, I've been down this road with this particular company. So anyways, with all that said, let me put the camera on the tripod here and I'm going to walk you through your Minimoog, Steve. And for anybody else that's curious, feel free to watch the rest of the way through here, because it sounds really good now. I've got it where it sounds like it should. It sounds like a Minimoog, and you can just hear the So as you can hear, it sounds great. Glide works great. So you can hear the glide. I'll go and show you your pitch wheel too here. Dead center. So you hear it sounds really good. We'll actually close this filter up and I'll show you the filter tracks right quick. Actually, let me go through the oscillators first. We'll go through the oscillators, open this filter up. So we got the filter up, I'm going to turn it down to there. So here's oscillator 1. I'll go through the footages as well as the waveforms, as well as the volume mix, so you can hear every function of it. So here we go. Same There's oscillator 1, oscillator 2, there's oscillator 2, oscillator 3, little recording for you there, just showing that filter response. But also I'll open the filter back up, show you the noise source right quick. I did forget that. So anyways, you can hear it sounds really good now. Oscillator just playing around there a little bit. Now let me show you the filter though. We'll go over here, turn the oscillators off. We're going here just the filter here. Noise off. 440 hertz. So here's just a filter tracking the keyboard. So you can hear just how great the filter tracks the keyboard now. Your control works for your filter. So you get a really fast decay. So we got decay. That's your sustain level. We also got attack. As you can hear. So that's your control for your filter. So open that filter back up. We'll turn on the oscillators. those harmonics you can get out of that filter now as well. So we'll open the filter back up. I'll show you the loudness contour. So I got it kind of set where I could, you know, make it sustain on its own here. So I got a really fast decay. Just click. As you can hear, we also got a sustain level, so we can turn that back to a click. You can get that kind of percussive kind of sound with the decay set low, sustain level set high. So that's working. So your attack works as well. As you can hear, that's your attack time. So that's working great. I also show you that your modulation section works. So over here, make oscillator 3 a modulation source. Turn on oscillator 2 and 1 and 2. Set this back up. So as you can hear, your modulation section works for your oscillators as well as your filter. Close this filter up a little bit. Here, that works. We can also go here, set this up to a 2 footage on the oscillator. I'm going to show you a trick here. I haven't really showed this yet. I've got a video on LFM synthesis, but something I'm going to show you here is how to make the Minimoog actually talk. This is something I did recently for Facebook, and I had a lot of people kind of chime in on how did I do that. So I'm going to show you. So it might take a minute to get set up here. Turn key tracking off. It's all about how you set your contour level and then how you set your emphasis. When you get in the upper registers, you'll notice you can also adjust your frequency of now your carrier. But you can also make this thing into a ring modulator too. Let's go here. kind of note reference. So as you can hear, sounds really cool. We'll turn it back to a anyways, just a little demo of your Minimoog there, Steve. Just want to show it off here, and you kind of go over some of the functionality of it here. Something I did forget though is I did forget to show you this modulation mix. You heard it because I actually had it in the noise source. What we'll do, we'll turn it back onto the oscillators, and we'll set this back up to a low frequency on oscillator 3. And I'm actually going to change your modulation mix. So what the mix does, for those that don't know, you've got a choice of oscillator 3 or the noise source. And what it does, allows you to mix between the two in the mixer amplifier, so you get something like this. So right now you'll hear just the oscillator. As you can hear, it's modulating the oscillators. Then we'll bring it over to the noise source. And you can kind of mix the two. It sounds really good in the filter as well, because we can go here and close the filter up. As you can hear, so it's how you can mix the noise and the oscillator together, or have one hard noise source or one hard oscillator source. So it's really handy knob there, especially with the filter. I find the noise source and the filter works really well together in that setup. But anyway, Steve, I just want to take a minute here and thank you for giving me the opportunity to work on this thing for you. It's been a real pleasure getting to work on this one. And for anybody else that watches my videos, I appreciate you watching. And there'll be more to come here very soon. Take care.